you ready for a change?
I am talking to you.
Then get ready to explore the quantum possibilities. It's time to transform that outdated paradigm into something universal and new. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. A time to think outside the box as we link to a higher consciousness. Welcome to the awakening. And now the hosts of Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori Love and Augie Nost.
Well, hi, everybody. Beautiful beings, radiant lights, extraordinary entities. Welcome to Broadcast Team Alpha, and we have cutting-edge conversations tonight. And before we get started, I just want to ask you a question. Disclosure. What the heck is it? So some words that are similar to disclosure are reveal, acknowledge, leak, that's a popular word, confess, divulge, publish, unveil, discover, admit, uncover, tell, exhibit, own, that's a good one, show, relate, expose, spill, communicate, and unfurl. So I've been thinking about disclosure because, the word is getting thrown around more and more frequently. And I'm like, what is it? Is it something that happens in the future? Is it happening now? Or is it something that should have happened a long time ago? And if it's something that should have happened a long time ago, does that mean that it's not just stuff to undisclose, but now there needs to be a major cleanup and resorting of the information if the information is going to be told as, air quotes, truth? Right? And what's it about? Is it about UFOs? Is it about secret societies? Is it about black ops and aliens and agendas? And oh my goodness. And who should be doing the disclosing? The government? The CIA? The church? Scientists? Or maybe the inhabitants of the UFOs that are not disclosed yet? Or maybe their government or their leader? I don't know. What do you guys think? Augie? Hi.
Oh, man. Now you got my head buzzing.
Well, I have a feeling our guest is going to unbuzz our head in a good way.
Yeah, I know, because we have Jim Nichols back with us. He's returning to Broadcast Team Alpha, and just about 20 seconds about who that is for those of you that has never heard of him before, and I imagine there's only about two of those. He's, first of all, a painter and an artist. He's a radio host. He was a TV talk show host for many, many years, and he's now a videographer and a lecturer, and he writes extremely interesting blogs on everything outside of the box. And you really need to see those blogs because, boy, oh boy, there's about 30 some of them there, and they're very interesting. And there is a website for that, and I'm going to give you that right now so you can go on there and look, and while you're listening even. So that's jimnicholsufo.net. And we're going to talk about some new scenarios and also maybe try to figure out what disclosure really should be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Welcome, Jim.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. It's nice to be here with you lovely people again.
Aw.
Thank you.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
I'm not going to give you any easy answers tonight. I'm just going to stir the pot and make it even more confusing.
Oh, you know what they say about stirring the pot.
You got it. Yeah.
Whoever stirs the pot has to lick the spoon.
Well, I think we'll try to have some fun with it.
Absolutely. So, I've been doing my due diligence, and I've listened to some of your YouTubes, and I have a whole different idea about you now.
You do.
Jim Nichols, the artist. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So we started out with the big enigma. What is it? I mean, is it something that should have happened? Has it already begun? I mean, where do you want to start, Jim?
Well, I want to start with you and Nagi.
Okay.
Okay. The thing, disclosure is a word that gets kicked about and bandied about so much that it's become kind of a tired cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you say disclosure, and I may think something totally different than what you think.
Right.
Augie may think something totally different than what either one of us think. So I think, wait a minute. Well, all right, Nari, let's start with you.
Oh.
Let's start with you.
No pressure.
I assume with disclosure, you're talking about something that has to do with UFOs and aliens, correct?
Well, yes.
See, okay. So give us your definition. What would be satisfying to you as disclosure?
Wow. Well, I mean, ultimately, I would love the truth, but I think that is so, as I alluded to in the beginning, I think that is so hidden and tangled and covered over and just so messy that I don't.
But okay, truth about what?
Well, I want to know the truth. I want to know the truth about everything. So,
Right.
I want to know. I want to go back to the beginning. Like, where did this start? Where did it start? Where did it start? Where things had to be so covered up? I mean, clearly, right now, on the full moon of November 12th. 2019, when we talk about disclosure, from what I'm seeing on mainstream TV, people are waiting for the aliens to land.
Okay, so disclosure would be to reveal the truth about an alien presence.
Yeah, that's not enough for me. But I want to know more. But
she wants it all, Jim.
The general context, the most accepted context of a disclosure, not so much in the political arena, but in the alternative media, disclosure for you would have to do something to do with aliens and UFOs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot here too much.
I heard that.
How long? How can I phrase this and not be too revealing? How long has this topic been of interest to you? Let me throw it at you that way.
Well, that's a good question, because really, it was really out of my wheelhouse until, I don't know, like 2 years ago, until I got involved with Augie and Tom. And then I think it was synchronistic, because it seemed to be coming up more and more. It was coming up more and more in the fringe news, and now mainstream. So I'll say 2 years ago. But truly, when I was a little. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, because that was going to be my next. I think you're going where I wanted you to go.
All right. So
how long have you been aware that there's something amiss that we need disclosure about?
I mean, probably, as soon as I could, formulate a cohesive thought about it. I mean, I used to wait in the fields, at night at 9 o'clock, waiting for the aliens to come take me home. But no.
Well, wait a minute. Where would you ever even come up with an idea like that?
I have no idea. I mean, my family told me I was an alien, but I don't think they were referring to the whole disclosure project. But I don't know.
I mean, this is like going back to being a kid.
Mm-hmm.
This was something that was, squirreling around inside your mind at that time, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
And even growing up, I remember my family, kind of, talking hush-hush about it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see a UFO?
Not to put too much pressure on me.
Did you ever see anything in the night sky that behaved in a way that you could not explain?
Absolutely.
It's normal.
100%, yes.
I've seen satellites, I've seen airplanes, and whatever this damn thing is, it don't behave like either one of them.
Right? Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So you have seen that, yes?
Yes.
Okay. See.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's like this is a significant part of our general culture here.
Absolutely. Good point. Okay. Very good point.
All right. Okay. So that's why when people bandy the word disclosure about on different radio shows, there's a general population out there that has a common sense of what that word means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's the same with me. When I go back to my kidhood, which goes back much longer than I would care to admit, but I never saw a UFO. I never saw a flying saucer. I've seen weather balloons. I've seen, eclipses. I've seen all kind of weird things in the sky, but never. What I wanted to see was always a flying saucer. Now, for me, disclosure would be to show me a real deal flying saucer machine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about UFOs. I don't care particularly about aliens. But I do believe that flying saucer technology is real. Mm-hmm. So for me, disclosure for me would be to see and kick the tires on a real anti-gravity flying saucer.
Mm.
So that's my take on disclosure. Now, how about Augie? Now, Augie, you grew up in Norway?
Yeah.
They didn't talk about UFOs in Norway, did they?
Yeah, actually, they kind of did in some way.
Funny thing, okay.
Yeah, and I think the whole madness, unbeknownst to me at the time, started on July 8, 1947, when the Roswell crash happened. And of course, then I started reading newspapers early, and I think I probably was around maybe 8 or 10 years old, possibly, when I read the first article in a Norwegian newspaper that talked about the flying discs that the Germans made.
When did you first find out about Roswell?
Oh, that was after I got, I think so. May have been.
Right. When I was a kid, I can't say that, I don't think I was particularly aware of Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when, in the mid-'60s, people were talking a lot about Hangar 18. Do you remember people talking about that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The movie, too.
I lived in Ohio, just a few miles north of Dayton, where the Hangar 18 was supposed to be, Wright-Patterson Field. And I remember at a family picnic, I had an aunt that was rather well off, and she was probably well placed within Indiana politics. She lived in Indiana, and she was absolutely adamant that some kind of flying machine, alien flying machine, was hidden away secretly at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at Hangar 18. How the hell do you know this, lady?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of my first. That was the closest thing to a Roswell awareness that I had as a kid. So it wasn't until years later that I found out more about Roswell. But I remember all the time growing up. This is during the 1950s. Everybody was talking about flying saucers and UFOs, and so there had to be something real going on for that many people to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just public knowledge that something was going on in our skies that people couldn't account for. But I remember the government said there's no such thing. The people who see these are crackpots, and this is cover-up time here. Okay, so this is when I became aware of the need for some kind of legitimate disclosure, because all these people can't be crazy. Somebody must be seeing something out of the ordinary for all these stories to be floating around. Right? So.
Yeah, and the thing also that I think our impression of what disclosure should be changes over time, because my opinion of what I think disclosure should be is different now than it was maybe 10 years ago. Because the more you learn, the more you will expect to find out. And and now I know so much that I am totally with Nori on this one. I want the whole thing.
You want the whole enchilada.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything. I don't care, what kind of, the alien presence. And I've seen enough now. I've seen these things on my own, and I know a little bit what they are and what the technologies are, because I read and study, and I have the test specs of the Honeyboo 2 somewhere on an old computer that crashed, and the test results show that it could fly from the surface to 60,000 feet straight up against gravity in 3 minutes. And this was a flying disc. So we know that the Americans got a hold of this, and they have perfected it. So then the question is, how far ahead have they gotten, and how many of these goofy things we see in the sky actually belongs to the government?
Well, that's if you found that out, would that satisfy you as disclosure?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a long way to go here. I remember in 1966, a book came out called "Flying Saucers: Serious Business." It was written by Frank Edwards, and Frank Edwards was like the Art Bell of the 1960s. And I was a junior in high school, and I glommed onto this book, and I was so excited because Frank Edwards says, disclosure is going to come at any minute. The Air Force is going to disclose the truth about flying saucers at any minute. This was 1966.
Yeah.
And guess what?
We're still waiting.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Frank's been dead and gone a long time, and I'm still waiting, Frank. So
yeah,
but
we can also think back on. I think a lot of the stuff, the things, or the craft we see in the sky, I am sure that a fair amount of it is actual government property. Because think of what Ben Rich said. He was the head of the Skunk Works for, I think, about 11 years or so, in late 70s and 80s probably. And he said something to the fact that we have the capability to take ET home. We have the technology to fly among the stars. But the technologies that make that possible is locked up in black projects, and it will take an act of God to get it released to the benefit of the public.
Well, that's a real slap in the face, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. The other thing that over the years has kind of becomes fairly obvious is that the whole UFO thing came up on the heels of World War II. Prior to World War II, hardly anybody talked about UFOs or flying saucers. But it's very interesting that this happened. Well, the Roswell crash had place in July 47. And then on into the 50s, there was more and more talk about people seeing circular flying machines here, there, and yon. And not just in this country, all over the world. So it makes you wonder, it's like, well, what? And then at the same time, in the early 1950s, Hollywood started hitting us with aliens, extraterrestrials. Flying saucer tech. Now, flying saucers is just such an exotic technology, it must come from outer space, right? So was this a truth? Was this a sort of disclosure that they were giving us? Or was this a propaganda distraction? Because, let's see, if I'm the United States Air Force and I'm testing these flying saucers and I don't want the public to know about it, but if people do see them, it might be a good propaganda ploy to make them think that they're from outer space. Then we could fly them. Then we could fly them anywhere we wanted to, and not have to worry about people thinking that they're ours.
That's what I would do.
So, if you go back and look at some of the quotes from one of the first directors of the CIA, Alan Hillenkotter, he suggested that the UFO reports could be used for propaganda purposes, and used in such a way as that we could fly our own test aircraft with impunity. And we could, anybody who sees them, we just call them a crackpot. And they even got Walt Disney in on that. So, I think that it's very suspicious. I can't prove it, but it's very suspicious that they would have the kind of skullduggery mindset that would draw attention away from these strange things that would be flown in the sky.
Yeah, I see we have 2 minutes before the bottom of the hour break here, and I want to, when we get back after the break, I want to get maybe a little more into how do we see this disclosure being brought forward? Because we are looking at it from our point of view and say, yeah, we want it all, bring it to us. Well, that's not going to happen. I mean, not the way that the government...
Yeah, that's speaking for you.
Yeah.
It's not speaking for everybody in the general public. And not everybody in the general public, I would agree, is ready for disclosure.
Yeah.
So just before we go to break, a quick shout out to our chat room. Tim Lunn in the chat room said that I understand that the galactic beings are now going to do disclosure themselves. Shout out to Tim. I like that. Margaret said a lot of the craft are government, the elite, right? We haven't gone down that dark, murky road yet. The elite want to keep us in the dark, slaves. So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. And, the ETs I saw weren't driving flying saucers, just saying. So let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk about this and so much more.
This is the Broadcast Team Alpha Show, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. The one show that takes your doubts of the unknown and spins them into reality. Share your thoughts by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More cutting-edge conversation and exploration of the quantum universe after this.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, for Hyperspace, the one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace, Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Wanna take a ride?
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite gold medal award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019, the action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Great. It's great. I think it's great. It's great.
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy and Kent Dunn. Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Going live.
Come explore the quantum possibilities. This is Broadcast Team Alpha. To be on the show live, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts of the show on Twitter at KCOR Radio, #KCOR. Or join the cutting edge conversation live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com. Now back to Broadcast Team Alpha with your free thinking hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nast.
Augie.
Hello. You are still. That's what I get for muting myself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're still listening to Broadcast Team Alpha here, and we're talking with Jim Nichols about disclosure. What is it, and what can we expect, and maybe how do we see it possibly happening? The only thing that I can see that we're doing, well, not the only thing, but many things that we're doing wrong is that we are expecting it to happen the way we would want it to happen. But we're not doing the disclosure. The others are, like the CIA, the governments, and the different power brokers in the world. They are the ones that is sitting on it. So we have to put ourselves in their mind and try to envision what do they think that they can dribble out and release a little bit of so that they will keep us happy and not go for their throat when some of this stuff really leaks out and the lie becomes so obvious, then they're gonna look like idiots. So once we start putting ourselves in their mind, we can start seeing how this would unfold. And Jim, you had a story that you told us off the air here in the break that was so good about what actually the CIA and someone thinks about disclosure.
Well, I came across this in Wendell Stevens' research into the Billy Meyer case back in Switzerland back during the early 80s. During his investigation, he got an anonymous letter from a gentleman who claimed to work within the CIA, and Wendell always referred to him as my friendly spook. And he was very friendly. He said he was sharing very interesting information. He said, the CIA, the agency knew that the Billy Meyer case was legitimate. That was a done deal. But they said the problem with disclosure, and this is why we have to keep this covered up, is because not everybody has a mindset or background that would be comfortable with an alien reality. Mm-hmm. And he said the problem is fundamentalist religions tend to expect that everybody that comes from outer space in a spaceship is demonic. And so the CIA said, we are not going to get into a huge conflict with the religious community arguing about who is and who is not demonic. He said, this is not our job. And he said, the military didn't want to touch it, the CIA didn't want to touch it, and they just simply did not want to get into that conflict with the general public. And if you go back and look at the Brookings Institution, back when we started doing manned launches into space, they also did a study to see if the American public was ready to face the possible reality of extraterrestrials. And the study, anthropologists like Margaret Mead were on this panel. They're really smart people. And they said, the general public, even today, is too reactionary, too primitive, too medieval to face the reality of extraterrestrial presence and have to deal with it. They can't, we have huge conflict all over the world right now between religions that still live in a Bronze Age mentality. Mm-hmm. So these kind of people don't work things out logically. If something comes along that is not familiar to their mindset, they instantly just react to it negatively. So anyway, back to Friendly Spook. He says this is such a huge mindset of a huge segment of the population is we're just not going to deal with it. We're just not going to stir up this hornet's nest. So it's best for the time being to just pass on this thing and just not force disclosure. And even the Pleiadians themselves, the entities that Billy Meyer contacted, they said it was not psychologically healthy to impose an extraterrestrial reality on people who are not psychologically ready for it. It would do more harm than good. Okay? So I think that's a big component in why it's like, well, let's do this gradually over decades. And so now you see people are warming up to how many seasons have we seen of Ancient Aliens? How many decades has that been going? So there has been steady, slow drip enculturation of the extraterrestrial reality. But are we... you look at the situation, the way the world is right now today, do you think we're closer to being a planet that can accept an extraterrestrial reality or further from it?
Well, I don't know, Jim. We got a comment in the chat room here from Dollarsworth, and he says there were reports of a fleet of ships over Southern California yesterday. Huge fleet, and they could be seen for miles, and it was undeniable.
Right. But these are people who are sharing.
Was it right? Was that on CNN last night?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh no.
That's
right.
Okay. That these isolated things do happen.
Yeah.
But it's like disclosure. Okay, disclosure. Big D would be when that kind of event is shown everywhere on the evening news. Every channel, every station covers that event. That would be damn close to disclosure. But until that happens, these are just weird little stories that pop up on the internet, and nobody takes them seriously.
Well, some of us take it.
Is it disclosure or is it disclosure? It's an event, but is it disclosure?
Right, it's not really disclosure. And, it's true. I mean, we're preaching to the choir here pretty much with everybody that's listening. But, there are those people out there that, their lives are nice and tied up with a bow and, they very mainstream with mainstream activities, go to A to B to C, consumerism, that would throw a huge, emotional, chaotic wrench in a lot of people's world. So I get that.
Right. So it's not as easy as those of us who are in the choir seem to think it would be. I think it would be a challenge. We have people in my own meetup group who are now absolute believers that the world is flat.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Caboli's. I say, how do you...
Well, how do
you disclose to people like that? And you can't, once again, with this mindset, it's more like a religion. You can't work it out logically with them. It's like it's all or nothing. It's like a faith. Yes, the world is flat, and we have been lied to. Everything's a lie. They tell us, NASA tells us the planet is round when it's always been flat. So.
How did President Eisenhower get away with meeting aliens? Now that was before I was born, but. So I didn't really, I'm doing retroactive history, doing that. But
it's retroactive for me. I remember Eisenhower, and he never came on the evening news and told us he had talked to ETs today.
Right.
That was something that came out years and years later. That okay, well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. With Ike, you kind of have to look at how his presidency evolved and how he slowly got involved with creating NASA and creating a space program. And he wondered, well, was part of the incentive to do that from his experience with the aliens in 1954? So, well, something's going down here, and we somehow we have to get involved with traveling in outer space. And he took that just so far, and then it was John Kennedy who jumped in afterwards and really pushed it forward. And the story is that JFK himself was involved with naval intelligence, and he knew all about the Roswell crash. He knew all about the ET presence. So it's like that's an interesting line of study just in itself. Which president knew what and when about the ETs? Okay.
Yeah. Well, who I'd like to interview? I want to interview some of the people who are, in New Mexico and in Sedona, and groups of people are going out at night and raising their vibration to call ETs in. So I want to talk to some of them.
Well, you should interview Stephen Greer.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of his specialties. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that when we talk about disclosure, actually, in a small way in different areas of the world, it has happened. The Russian president, he made disclosure on camera. And then in the European Union, the Speaker of the European Union Parliament on the floor, during a session, he made the comment, like, I have talked to leaders of other worlds, and he says they are worried about us. We need to change our ways. I think that we need to change our ways. That may have been said different, but the rest of it was exact as he said it.
Wow.
And then later on, he didn't want to talk about it. It went into the transcript, and he don't want to talk about it.
So the whole problem is that, we as a population, as a whole, are not evolved or capacitated enough to deal with the truth or disclosure. So the cover-up has gotten deeper and murkier and more tangled. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's a pretty fair assessment, yeah. The other thing is technology. And this goes to the deep state, why the deep state would have absolutely no incentive whatever to initiate disclosure. Because knowledge is power. And knowledge of an extraterrestrial presence, especially knowledge of extraterrestrial technologies, would be the ultimate power. And if you know, the last thing the deep state is going to do is give away its power on a silver platter.
Yeah.
So, no. There's no incentive whatever for the deep state to initiate disclosure unless a bigger fish in the pond tells the deep state, yes, you will disclose or else. Okay.
Yeah, and my opinion, what actually is behind the curtain here, and that kind of directs the motivation for the cover-up. That is that they want to do anything they can for the protection of the existing political, economical order.
Exactly.
They want to make sure that does not collapse, so they lose the profits and the power. And that's the only two agendas. That is their God, money and power.
I don't think we underestimate, the delicacy of international economics. There's a lady that, if you get a chance to interview Catherine Austin Fitz, she'd be an excellent one to talk to about this particular issue, because she's made a steady. I mean, she worked for the Housing and Urban Development Agency during the first Bush administration. So she knows our United States government economics. And she's always asking the question, well, what happened to the $21 trillion that vanished out of our budget? And I think, well, wow, I wonder how much secret space you could build with $21 trillion.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this is, I think, the biggest, scariest part of disclosure that nobody ever talks about or thinks about, is how these secret projects are financed. Yeah. Back in 2015, they had just a really super secret space conference going on in Texas. And Catherine Austin Fitz was one of the speakers, and Joseph Farrell, and a number of other really top-notch investigators. And what they started to uncover was how this secret space was being financed. And this gets into some really, really scary stuff.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly, boom, 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 they didn't have secret space conferences anymore. In fact, the whole secret space issue has totally vanished. And I'm thinking, well, it's like, I have a feeling Catherine Fitz and Joseph Farrell got too close to uncovering how this secret space activity or project was being financed, because that would open a can of worms that is just beyond anybody. Nobody's going to stand still for allowing this to go public. But essentially, Catherine says, we're paying out. The government is paying out enough money to finance two separate governments, which is to say that there's a secret government that the public is totally unaware of, and it's like a black hole for money. Money just pours into it, and we have no idea what it's being spent for, how it's being used, how these finances being raised to begin with. What kind of secret projects can raise this kind of money that would create this kind of breakaway civilization? So that I would say that's probably one of the scariest issues of all with disclosure. It's not just about happy ETs or having a little flying saucer in your backyard. It's how these technologies are being used, how these technologies are being secretly financed. And as I understand it, from my good friend Michael Schratt, who really studies this stuff, he studies the technology and the financing of black budgets. He said the cost for these projects are astronomical. And the general public would not stand for it if they knew how much their tax dollars were going into this.
Yeah.
So there's a real problem with disclosure right there.
Yeah, and the thing too is that chances are it's not really the taxpayers that is paying the bill for it, because whatever the taxpayers can produce, that just goes to pay the interest on the $21 trillion government debt. Now, the Federal Reserve had the power to create money out of absolutely nothing, and that is probably what finances the other government.
Partly, but wars in Afghanistan.
Drug money, yeah.
Drug money. You keep a war going in countries that supply heroin to the entire planet. So,
yeah.
You don't suppose some of that money goes there, do you? So it's a tougher nut to crack than we think it is.
Well, I wanted to see a bunch of friendly grays. I'm just so disappointed. Yeah, with their little lit up ET fingers. Yeah. Darn it.
Yeah, either that or a few aliens that look just like us. We can sit down, have a good cup of coffee, and we can talk about things.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Once we travel under the water with them, yeah.
Travel to their underwater base that's in the center of the earth, and
yes.
Now we got 5 minutes left of the break here, but you mentioned, Nori, that the ones you saw was.
Oh no, you're not even getting me to go there.
Oh, okay.
No, not tonight. Not in 4 minutes.
You're not going to give us disclosure?
No, it's not for me to do.
See, it's a cover-up.
Oh, really?
Well, then I guess I'm with you on that one somewhat, because the one I saw did not look like a gray either. So there are all kinds of them, and they come from absolutely everywhere, from far away, from within our solar system, from parallel universes, from under the ground, from the center of the earth. They come from everywhere because space is full of life.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're just one little part of it.
Well, we have a consciousness, or our physiology is such that we have a limited perception of that, how vast the universe and multiverse really is. Yeah. But I think we were specifically designed that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been manipulated several times, during our evolution history. And when they say that God created no junk, well, he kind of did. We got junk DNA, but there has a purpose for that too. It isn't really junk. So there is a purpose for the way we are built and our capabilities, and we can reach for the stars, and we have proven that we can get there according to Ben Rich.
He says, yeah, but he says, but you'll never get there using chemical fuel.
That's right.
You'll never get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who participated in the chat room. And thank you to all the ETs who are listening in. And, you know, feel free to call or text. You know, we'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah, and Jim, let us know where they can get a hold of you. You can see your videos and everything that you do.
Well, a good place to start is jimnicholsufo.net, which has all my 34 blogs, and then I have Jim Nichols Video, which is my YouTube site, and then I have numerous video documentaries on UFO TV, the Disclosure Channel, and that's all over the place. That's on Amazon Prime, that's on YouTube. That's on so many different platforms. So just go to UFO TV, the Disclosure Channel, and Jim Nichols videos, and just track on the internet where all you can find those.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm going to be studying your work for a long time now. So I opened up Pandora's box today. So Jim Nichols, thank you so much. Augie, thank you. Pleasure as always. Thank you to amazing KCOR, our fabulous producer, and to everybody listening. Come join us next week and see what kind of cutting edge conversation we're going to get into. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting to a new paradigm. Will you be ready? For more information on Broadcast Team Alpha, as well as the hosts Nori Love and Augie Nost, please visit their website at broadcastteamalpha.com. Until next week, remember to keep those minds open while always exploring the endless quantum possibilities.
Broadcast Team Alpha. Over and out.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist.